Good looking to be an avatar. All right, go ahead.
Wouldn't you just go back where it's highlight? Oh yeah, you figured
Yeah.
it out. Never mind.
I figured it out. I'm not that much of a dink. And I don't mean don't dual income, no kids. Ridiculous. Anyways.
Here we go.
What are we doing? Oh.
It's time for Red Salad Review with your hosts, Wayne Moon, Greg Donald, and Lou Maddox.
I don't know if I ever expressed this, but I really hate those fucking Muppets. They're puppets.
I think the
Splits.
puppets are awesome.
Everybody does. I'm the only one who doesn't like it.
It's false advertising. You don't look like me anymore.
You're just jealous because I haven't made one of you yet.
No, thank God you have. Anyway,
Soon.
It'll just be hair with a nose, man. Yeah, that's all it would be.
I will do it soon.
Yep.
You bastard. Anyway,
welcome to Red Salad Review tonight.
Anyway,
tonight I guess is a sad episode because we're talking about people's deaths and stuff. But John Sykes and David Lynch has passed away the last few days. So I love Thin Lizzy. I like the Thunder and Lightning album. That's as much as I know about John Sykes because I'm not a fan of a lot of the other things that he's done. So this is going to be up to you guys to put on a good show.
Well,
man, I can't help but think you look like you belong on the back of a milk carton right now. I swear to God.
Have you seen me?
Have you seen me?
I'm just surprised there's no hands. I'm moving my hands and there's no hands.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, probably because you're playing with yourself. Anyway.
Yeah, it could be that.
Well, this episode is demonetized already. Anyways, let's continue.
Yeah, whenever Wayne comes in, the riff to Aqualung just follows him.
But Thunder and Lightning is the last Thin Lizzy album, and not one of my favorites, but there's some really good songs in there. Cold Sweat and Sun Comes Down.
Cold Sweat, Sun Goes Down. The two John Sykes had a hand in writing, I think, are the best two on it. Other than that, Sykes' playing on it is amazing. I mean, Metal Lizzy didn't really work for me, but my problem with all three of those 80s albums is the songwriting's just off.
Right. Yeah. I feel that the same way. Those early Thin Lizzy albums are just, they're great. And that one, last one, you can just tell this, not the first three, but there are some decent songs. Those are starting to grow on me, actually. But, the last one just seemed like, there were just a lot of stuff going on. So, but, it is what it is. But how do you guys feel about John? I know you're a guitar player, Lou, so, you're a John Sykes fan.
I am. This is going to come off as really odd, but I don't care. I'm going to say what I'm going to say because it's, to quote Oprah, my truth. Anyway, where did that come
right
from?
There. Spill it, sister. Let's go.
The truth is, John Sykes was one of my earliest guitar heroes. I recall seeing him on the Whitesnake video for No Stranger to Love. Well, both videos, No Stranger to Love and Slow and Easy, because those were on heavy rotation during the heavy metal hour on U68, which was the UHF channel that we got in Astoria, Queens, that broadcasted music. They were at the time competing with MTV. MTV was cable. UCC8 was UHF. Unfortunately, it got bought up by the Home Shopping Network. Thanks for ruining my childhood, you fucks. But back to what I was saying. So, I saw John Sykes in those videos and I thought it looked cool. But it wasn't until I heard the 87 Whitesnake album. Now, look, people could say, it was Whitesnake's sellout album. It was Whitesnake going hair metal. It was Whitesnake making itself, made for MTV. Fine.
I'd say that would be slided in, honestly.
More than 87.
Well, they had the sound established on 87, and quite honestly, I think you can hear more of what Whitesnake could do in that new style, whereas Slide It In is very much them just taking the Mickey Moody version of it and doing a forced re-record.
I mean, it still Slide It In kind of does hold up more with like the older Whitesnake when they were more of a blues rock based band. But
yeah, I also think they had another producer, because I don't remember who. Of course, I got the Whitesnake box set for Slide It In up there somewhere, but
anyway, sorry, Lou.
Keith Olsen produced the American version when they started doing that. I can't remember. Martin Birch produced the British one, right, Greg?
I'm looking it up right now because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Anyway, Luke, go back to your Sykes story.
Yeah, Martin Birch.
Okay, cool. But I will say this, though. Say all those things and say what you want about the 87 Whitesnake album. John Sykes owned that album.
Still
okay,
from
the opening track, "Crying in the Rain," even though it was a redo of a song that came, actually both that and "Here I Go Again" are both redos from their 1982 Saints and Sinners album. But I'm not going to include "Here I Go Again" in this conversation because that's not Sykes playing lead guitar on that song. That's Adrian Vandenberg, in case anybody wasn't aware of that. But that's him on the rhythm guitar, and it sounds fantastic. But the moment I heard "Crying in the Rain," from the riff to that God blessed solo, I mean, Eddie was here, with Randy and Iommi, and Sykes, because of that one solo alone, in my eyes, matched them. Just like the sheer ferocity, the tone, the talent behind that playing. I mean, the guy was a beast. I didn't know somebody could play fast like that and play melodically and it fit the song. All due respect to guys who played fast like Paul Gilbert and Yngwie. I love them to death. But they didn't have the melody and ferocity of Sykes on that one song alone. And that entire album is great. But, to me, "Crying in the Rain," one of my favorite songs of all time. And that made me a hardcore John Sykes fan. Unfortunately, it wasn't until 20 years later when I discovered that at one point he was the last member of Thin Lizzy to be on an album and a tour. And I'm sorry you guys don't feel the same way I do about Thunder and Lightning. It's my second favorite Thin Lizzy album. But the fact that you mentioned "Sun Goes Down" and "Cold Sweat," yes, I agree. Those are the two best songs on the album. But I also love "Baby Please Don't Go." I love "Holy War," and I love the title track.
Holy War is very, very good. I love that song.
The title track, I never liked that song.
Yeah, I liked it. I like every song on this damn thing.
You know what it is? It's just, for me, it's like when I first heard it, I was like, I gotta learn how to play this. So that's why it spoke to me, Greg. So
my biggest problem with that is I heard the Robertson years first, and what probably bothers me most about Thunder Lightning than anything outside of the lackluster writing was Gorham not doing the melodic guitar anymore. He needed to do the melody to John Sykes' shredding, and I would like it a lot better.
I don't know if it would have fit, though. I know what you're saying, but I don't know if that would have been a fitting sound on that. It's funny because you're not the only one.
Like he did with Robertson, but I just feel like there was a better way to attack it than that.
All I know is that John Sykes is so different than Snowy White, who he replaced. And certainly he had more in common with Robertson than he did with Snowy White. But again, different kind of players. I mean, those guys.
Yeah.
The thing about Thin Lizzy is every single guitar player, Eric Bell, who everyone forgets, they're all phenomenal musicians, guitarists. And it's funny, Greg, you're not the only one I've heard from, mostly British fans, that really don't like the what they call the heavy metal direction on this album. What's funny is that they were already considered a heavy metal band. Now, granted, what that meant in 1970s did not mean in the 80s, but in my opinion, John Sykes brought new life into this band. And I think if they would have continued with this lineup and toured the States, they might have actually broken the States instead of breaking the States like 20 years after Phil's gone, you know? So anyway, that's my opinion. I think it fit in with the times. I think he looked the part. I think he certainly was a modern guitar player of 80s by the 80s standards.
Mhm.
And I actually like the songs.
The best
They're not
two
as
albums he was
personal as
ever on, as far as I'm concerned, are these Tigers of Pantang records.
Which I need to revisit them both.
And
You know,
I actually heard before Whitesnake.
Oh, but I never got to.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, guys. I never got to finish what I was saying. But you know, but again, this is why I say Black Rose is my favorite of all the Thin Lizzy albums, because you know, Gary Moore, the GOAT, in my opinion. But you know, I love what Sykes did with him, and I'm not taking anything away that Brian Robinson did with them. You know, especially because Bad Reputation is my number 3. But you know, what really made me just take notice of not just a guitar player, but the songwriter, John Sykes, was that first Blue Murder album. I mean, Valley of the Kings, fuck you, Led Zeppelin. You know, like that song just like, you know, when you're 9 years old and you're listening to it on your headphones or on your brother's stereo system, and it's like, you know, you hear the pounding of the rhythm, you hear John's soaring vocals, and that beautiful melodic, I don't know how many layers of guitar tracks he put it down in the studio, but Jesus Christ, did it work, you know? And, you know, I even love the 94 album, which is incredibly overlooked, Nothing But Trouble. You know, We All Fall Down is a great song. I'm glad that I could say I heard it on the radio when it was brand new, when I was growing up in New York City. And, you know, after that, I mean, he pretty much stayed with Japan, and he toured with Thin Lizzy as an opening act for Heritage Acts. So I feel like John Sykes, you know, I don't know why he always sold himself short or what his deal was, but he should have been much bigger than what he was. Like, I think he could have been right up there with, like, you know, George Lynch and Warren and Jake, you know, with the guitar players of the 80s. But for some reason, you know, I know him being unceremoniously fired from Whitesnake because of some kind of dispute where John says that David wasn't putting his best foot forward with the album, and David claiming that John was trying to steal Whitesnake from him, and that led to him getting the sack along with Ansley Dunbar and Neil Murray. You know, who knows what the truth is, you know, but there's always 3 sides to every story: John Sykes' story, David Coverdale's story, and the truth. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Well,
but
Coverdale's a prick. That's well documented.
So I heard, but you know, God bless John Sykes. Thank you for the great years of, you know, guitar mastery that you gave us. You deserved better.
I had no idea he did backing vocals on Adrenalize from Def Leppard.
He was at one point considered to be the next guitarist in Def Leppard to replace Steve Clark, but he didn't want the gig.
Wow.
Well,
Wasn't he involved with another album of theirs?
Sykes, no.
Well, he also auditioned for Ozzy Osbourne. I don't know when, but I know it was before Jake E. Lee. I don't know why he didn't get the gig. I didn't know that till he passed away, though. Story that came out recently. I think I heard it years ago, but I didn't really pay attention. So I don't know if that was after Speak of the Devil. I'm assuming it was after Speak of the Devil that he auditioned, but I don't know why he didn't get it.
So in between Tigers of Pantang and Whitesnake, you're saying?
Yeah, apparently. But I don't know the full story about that. And I didn't know about Tigers of Pantan was something I'd heard about, but never heard. There was no internet back in the day. So, and I never, unlike Greg, I never saw those albums at the store. I probably would have picked them up. It wasn't until the CD age that I picked them up. And I did like them, but unfortunately I didn't hear them new. So it didn't have the same impact if I'd heard them probably in the 80s, when it was brand new. But I think John Sykes, Slide It In was the first time I heard of him. I was a Thin Lizzy fan already, but I didn't know Thunder and Lightning yet. I don't Jailbreak, Johnny the Fox, Black Rose, which is also my favorite, by the way, Lou, and Live in Danger.
Apologies.
Good man.
Yeah. All right. But the first time I heard it was Slide It In. I didn't even know there was a different version of that album till years later after it became popular. But I remember my friends buying Slide It In, and I remember my friends thinking it was a new band, and so I sort of did too. But I was already a Deep Purple fan, so I knew who David Coverdale was. But I didn't know that they had recorded a version with Mickey Moody and Mel Gailey or whatever his name is.
Mel Gailey, yeah. That was for the UK only, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. Because if you look at the American version of it, which is on Geffen, it's got the lineup that we know and sort of, and then it's got
I think Colin Hodgkinson was the bassist on Slide It In, and they replaced him. I think they brought Neil Murray back into the band. Yeah,
Cozy Powell's on drums on that, which you can tell just by the song "Slow and Easy." But I think John Sykes is incredible. He brought on this modern edge. Believe me, the Mickey Moody lineup, as much as I like it, that would have never sold in the United States. First of all, not that everything's about image, but we came into the MTV era, and John Sykes was this good-looking blonde guy, looked like a guitar hero. Mickey Moody looked like somebody's dad, and
well, that was another reason that Coverdale replaced Dunbar Murray with Aldridge, who is not that good looking. Rudy Sarzo, who at the point went blonde and big coughed, and he replaced Sykes with both Vandenberg and Campbell. Now look, I got nothing against.
Which says a lot about Sykes' talent right there.
But I mean, I got nothing against Campbell or Vandenberg. I think they're both great guitar players in their own right. But it took two of them to replace John.
Well, dude, if you listen to that live at is it Rock in Rio, which you can watch on YouTube? It's on the special edition of Slide It In. Mm-hmm. He's the only guitar player, and I think it's John Lord's last show.
Yeah.
Before John Lord fucks off back to Deep Purple. And
decision.
John, it was you were right. It was a great decision. But John Sykes is on fire on there.
Yeah,
I don't think they play anything off the old stuff other than "Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City," and I believe they play "Standing in the Shadow of the Blues," which is a great song.
Walking in the Shadow of the Blues.
Oh, thank you, Walking, and but I mean it's incredible. Like you said, he took two guitar players to replace them. As far as Thin Lizzy, I don't know what the full story is other than Phil brought him in. Because Snowy White left. I know he did shows with Pink Floyd because both Roger Waters and Gilmour wanted him there to help,
Well, he came from Floyd.
Yeah, but that's right, because he played with Floyd first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Floyd didn't tour the Final Cut because they were already basically done.
Final Cut's more or less a Roger Waters solo album anyway.
Yeah, that's true. But Roger Waters' first solo album, Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, and I'm a huge Waters fan, is not that good. Where I love the Final Cut. Anyway, that's another.
Really?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about that on another.
Why does Wayne look like he's falling asleep?
Huh? What? No,
son of a bitch.
No, you know what? I'm looking at my phone, so it looks like I'm falling asleep. but no.
Okay.
I'm
We
listening.
got
I'm
nobody
listening.
in the chat. Come on.
There is
Sorry
no chat.
about the noise
There's
there,
people
by the
watching,
way.
but there's no chats.
I had to switch where I was so we didn't have all that noise. I apologize there.
No worries. You know, the screwed up thing though about the whole Lizzy situation was that, I don't know if they decided to break up the band before the recording of Thunder and Lightning or afterwards, but I know John Sykes had already been on board. And from what I heard, as the tour was becoming Lizzy's most successful around Europe, and they had taken a young Mama's Boys out on tour with them. I mean, that's why Pat McManus, every time he's he talks about Phil on his birthday, he's like, the first guy to give Mama's Boys their big break. And like their popularity was resurging again. But again, this is at a time where both Phil and Scott were trying to get off heroin. I mean, they were incredibly strung out. And, I don't know if they did the tour clean or not. I mean, I looked at some of those performances and you could tell Phil needed a break. But, John wanted to keep it going. Phil would have considered it, but David had already asked him to join Whitesnake. So then Phil was like, well, forget it then. And, apparently Phil has there's been some scuttlebutt among the internet saying that if Bob Geldof had asked Phil Lynott to reunite Thin Lizzy for Live Aid, he would have done it. And he was hurt that he was never asked.
I'm sure he would have. Speaking of Thin Lizzy, that live album Life is excellent. It never gets talked about, which is amazing.
It is excellent. It's better than the Thunder and Lightning album, quite honestly. I mean, much like Black Sabbath's Never Say Die, both of them, the title track on both respective albums, it sounds like a band dying on their last legs, but when they do it live, it's awesome. And before I forget, Sykes was put into contact with Phil and Thin Lizzy through Chris Sangrides, who produced those Tigers of Pantang albums, because Sykes was contractually obligated by MCA when he left Tigers to deliver a single, which I forget. I have to look up what the song was now.
Was it Please Don't Leave Me This Way?
Yes, Please Don't Leave Me. And that
first song you wrote with Phil.
Yeah, that had Brian Downey and Darren Wharton on the single, and he went into the Lizzy camp from there. But it was Sangrides that got them together originally.
Michael Lynch in the chat says Chris Sangarides producing Thunder and Lightning added to the metal sound, I think, like he did with Priest.
Chris Sangrides can't produce for shit. It's always flat. Well, I don't understand why everyone loves that wet sound so much.
I actually like his production, but that was the style. Yeah, that was the style.
The Tigers. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
He's a better producer than Kevin Shirley. There, I said it.
Oh, stop.
He's a better producer than Kevin Shirley, and that other guy that everyone loves, Bruce Fairbrain. He's awful.
Well, Bruce Fair, you hired him for a American radio sound. Why do you think AC/DC hired him for the Razor's Edge? That was not.
It's always so flat, though.
I liked what he did on Balance, though.
I agree. He was good, and he was good. Yeah, but wasn't that co-produced by Edward Van Halen?
No idea, but I can't stand Van Hagar, but I will give Balance points for actually having decent production.
Balance, as much as I hate Sammy Hagar with every fiber of my being, Balance is Eddie's best guitar album since Fair Warning. And everyone should listen to it for that reason.
I agree.
Because as good as A Different Kind of Truth is, that was all new shit. And that, to me, that was the most emotional he was since Fair Warning.
Well, I like Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, but I don't love it. I like it. I enjoy it. But Balance is always getting a lot of crap, and I don't get it, because out of all the albums, I think it's you're right. It is the darkest sound-wise since Fair Warning. See, we go on these tangents, don't we? But
well, let me ask you this though, like who do you think would have been a better producer then for Thunder and Lightning?
Oh, Greg?
If it's not Sangarides' production that you like.
I think Sangarides would have been okay if he would have done it like the Tigers albums, but he went with that wet 80s sound that I'm just not a fan of. But honestly, if I could have given it to anybody, I'd have given it to Martin Birch. Because with the change, although I don't care what anybody says, Thin Lizzy's a hard rock band. They were never metal. Just because there's metal guitars on that album does not make it a metal album.
I never thought they were a metal band. That's weird.
Lou Aerosmith was considered a metal band. Alice Cooper was considered a metal band. Look at that, Wayne. I threw his name in there. But anyway.
Just because a couple knobs writing for Kerrang or Circus back in the 70s called Aerosmith heavy metal does not mean they ever were or considered.
I mean, Rolling Stone said the same thing about Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple. They were never metal bands.
No.
You know?
Deep Purple influenced the fucking genre, Lou. Same thing with Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, you know.
I'm not denying their influence, but you know, I never Sabbath metal, Priest metal, Rainbow metal. I never
metal.
Hard rock to me.
See, this is where
albums are big heavy metal.
The black and white albums.
Yeah.
I think Blue Oyster Cult is an unsung metal influence.
Yes, they are. And unfortunately, one of the only people that everyone remembers where they did it is that awful Metallica cover of Astronomy, which could have been good if Metallica would have tried to play it as Metallica, but they tried to be BOC and did it way too straight, and I think ruined it.
Because there is no way to play that song any other way. That is such good, intricate songwriting.
It is. And that made me a bigger fan of Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah, I think they did a good job, Greg.
Yes.
I think they did.
Of course you did.
Well, I don't know how else would have done it. You know. Anyway, go ahead.
Has anybody listened to the One Night Only Thin Lizzy live album?
Pass.
John Sykes.
I have it.
I never heard it.
It's okay.
Is that one of those Scab Lizzy albums?
It was
John Sykes. Yeah,
it was John Sykes singing. Yeah,
it's John Sykes with Scott Gorham, Wharton, Darryl Wharton, Tommy Aldridge on drums,
and Marco
Mendoza on bass. So basically, it's Blue Lizzy, is what it is.
I got you. Well, yeah,
I have it.
Or Thin Murder.
I was saying Scab Lizzy to be a smartass. To be honest, I don't have any problem with what they did.
Well, I did. I do agree it's Scab Lizzy, but it's a good sounding Scab Lizzy, Greg. So I agree with that.
I mean, yeah, I'm not knocking Marco Mendoza as a bassist, and I'm definitely not knocking John as a vocalist, but you know, it's so hard to call it Thin Lizzy without Phil. I mean, the man's an icon, and I don't use that term loosely.
Yeah, you can't replace him.
Yeah, I'm gonna reform the Doors with only John Densmore.
They did it, and it didn't work.
You know why it didn't work? It's not the fucking Doors. Anyway,
I will say for all that shit with them though, although the second one I didn't enjoy, even though it's not fully the Doors, I did enjoy other voices.
I agree. The only reason I consider that the Doors is because they continued after Jim died, not waited 30-something years later. Back to John Sykes, though, you just mentioned his singing, Lou, and that's the thing that caught me by surprise at the Blue Murder album. Because you guys remember when he formed Blue Murder, the original vocalist was supposed to be Ray Gillen, who had just left Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever reason, Ray Gillen fucked off into the sunset.
Well, he joined Badlands.
Is that what it was?
He joined Badlands instead.
Okay. Well, that was a better decision, in my opinion. Because John Sykes really surprised me what a great singer he was. I was not expecting him. I thought he'd do like a Ted Nugent. Well, Ted Nugent sings, or an Yngwie or a Jeff Beck. You know, you hire a singer. And he took on the singing. He was pretty damn good. I wonder if Coverdale hired him not just for the guitar playing, but for the singing. Maybe Thin Lizzy did too, because Thin Lizzy, a big part of that was, And Thin Lizzy, that was mostly Phil, right, guys, who did the vocals in the back and everything live. I don't, obviously not, but
no, Scott and John or whoever was on second guitar would assist in background vocals for songs like Boys Are Back in Town or Thunder and Lightning or what's the other one? There was a couple of live tracks they did that had some background vocals on it. So, it wasn't, they weren't stationary. But I actually just remember one more thing. Valley of the Kings was a co-write between John and Tony Martin of Headless Cross era Black Sabbath.
Oh, it is? I didn't know that.
Tony Martin actually
all about that. Yeah.
co-wrote that song with them. And, it's funny. Tony could have sung that song on record, and he actually performs it live with his solo band, and he sounds really fucking good with it. It's just like, wow, it would be cool if he released like a studio track of that.
Lou, you brought something else up about that Blue Murder album. I forgot the Led Zeppelin sound to it. Valley of the Kings. What was it? Jelly Roll.
Yeah. The title track itself.
Yeah, I forgot how Led Zeppelin-ish it was. So makes me believe that Whitesnake Still of the Night is mostly a John Sykes creation. You think I'm off? I'm wrong?
I would agree with that, because as far as I'm concerned, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and we'll see what Lou thinks too, but especially with the way the melody and everything about that tune is just totally based around his guitar riffs and playing. I kind of feel like that's his big showcase on that album.
Yeah. That entire 87 album is all Sykes. And to me, that's what made that album the masterpiece that it is to me. Yeah, it's got a couple filler songs on it, but I could overlook that, and I'll explain why I think it was the last great Whitesnake album. As much as I love Steve Vai, and I think he's, a phenomenal guitar player. Love his work with Zappa, love his work with Alcatraz, love his work with David Lee Roth. Slip of the Tongue was no 87. It was not. That was more of a cash-in album than the 87 self-titled.
Slip of the Tongue is awful. I love Steve Vai, but I can't stand that record. So
yeah, it's like, here's 87. Filet Mignon, Slip of the Tongue, beneath frozen steak sandwich meat.
It's basically
that's all I can say.
English.
Well, I compare it to Mental Health and Condition Critical. Mental Health, big hit.
Whoa, no.
Wait, hold on. I didn't finish. Condition Critical, I do too, but Condition Critical is basically a
Mental Health Part 2.
Trying to repeat Mental Health. They even do a Slade song. Granted, that might have not been their idea, but they still did it. Whitesnake, Slip of the Tongue, the cover's similar. They redo another one of their old songs. What was that song, Greg?
Winner Takes All.
Winner Takes
All. No. The Whitesnake album. What was the song they did?
Fool for Your Lovin'.
Yeah. So they do another one of those old songs.
Which the version on Ready and Willing is 10 times better.
I agree. And again, Steve Vai, a great guitar player, but they just threw him in there. And I guess the good news is that producer and Coverdale gave him sort of free reign, but he wasn't part of the creation, and you can hear that. He was a hired gun. Nothing wrong with that. But with David Lee Roth, he created with Alcatraz, he helped create that stuff. Whitesnake, him and Vandenberg basically already wrote the album. Probably had the arrangements down already, so. Yeah, and I agree with you, Lou, on your point about John Sykes after the Blue Murder albums. He just disappeared. He did that version of Thin Lizzy. I don't think it was just a cash grab. I think he did want to pay tribute to his friend, and it turned and make money.
I didn't call it a cash grab.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Well, I just did, but I don't know. I think John Sykes, as great as he was, it's also one of those careers that should have been a lot more influential, should have been a lot more work out there for us to choose from. It just seems like he just dropped out, after.
Well, his solo albums he released in the 90s and early 2000s while he was in Japan are pretty good. Fairly obscure, but what was it? Out of My Tree, I think it's called. That was a really good one. Nuclear Cowboy is probably my favorite.
Greg, they're so obscure. I didn't even know they existed till a couple of years ago. Okay,
they are available on streaming if you do want to hear them. But I'm not gonna lie. When John Sykes and Mike Portnoy were both on That Metal Show, I was excited at the prospect of hearing what those two would create. I have no idea what happened. I don't think anybody does. We weren't there. I'm happy that we got the Winery Dogs, but I'm incredibly unhappy that we didn't get anything from Sykes until post-pandemic. He released 2 singles, and the guy was battling cancer all this time, and nobody knew. I mean, what a tragedy.
Yeah, no, it is a shame. I mean, for me, he could have never done anything else except for the 2 Tigers albums, and I would still consider him legendary. I mean, him and Rob Weir, the way they played together, there's just so many classic riffs, and those records are so badass.
In the chat, this is something you guys were talking about earlier. Michael Lynch didn't Vai just come in and do leads?
Yes.
On Slip of the Tongue, I don't think Vandenberg played on it at all. I think he was nursing a hand injury.
Yeah, he wasn't on it at all, as far as I know. That's all Steve Vai. Oh.
But yeah, that was the one thing I really was waiting for Sykes to do, especially after John Deverell was no longer singing for Tigers, as I was hoping he would do another album with them at some point, but he just never did. But I mean, Gangland, that was such a classic song. Do It Good, Love Don't Stay, Never Satisfied, Hellbound, Tiger Bay. Tigers of Pantang were such a great band. And it's not that I dislike the first album in any type of way, Wildcat, but Sykes just came in and upped the ante and totally added something different with his style to those next 2 records. And he plays 2 songs on the Cage as well, but he was out of the band by the time they recorded most of that album. It was just Love Potion number 9 and God, what is the name of that other song? Can't remember now. Hang on 1 second. Danger in Paradise, which is a cover, but actually both songs are covers.
Oh, Stan says hello from the gutter. See you Saturday. See you Saturday, Stan.
Yeah, don't remind me.
My favorite Sykes story though. Apparently him and Jakey Lee, they were both in the same area together. I don't know what the context was, but they both had guitars or whatever. And Sykes starts playing Bark at the Moon because apparently he warmed up with Bark at the Moon. Jakey Lee's like, "What the fuck, guy?" And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Jakey Lee pulls out Still of the Night. Apparently, each guitar player used the other songs for sound check.
That's funny.
Which I thought was a pretty cool story.
That's really cool, yeah.
Yeah, Jake actually posted a really nice tribute to John. He said, they didn't get to hang out as often as he would have liked to, but he always liked John. He always respected John, and he sent his condolences out to his family. And that's the thing. I didn't know John Sykes was a dad.
Oh, the funny thing there is Rob Weir did the same thing on the Tigers of Pantang official page. Apparently they were always still friends, kept in contact.
Which really adds more to the mystery of who John Sykes was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and
crazy.
By the way, so 87, I knew I liked that album a lot, but getting back to how I heard Tigers before I I was really into Maiden, already knew Diamond had other stuff like that from listening to those Friday Rock Show tapes. And then I got to Tigers and I'm like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Because when I first heard Slide It In, I did not care for it at all.
I don't think a lot of people did. It wasn't as exciting as the '87 record. I just think that album, it had the songs, it had the performances, it had the production. I mean, at that point. Sorry, Greg, go ahead.
And two, I mean, you compare something like the title track from Slide It In to even a redo like Crying in the Rain '87. It's just night and day.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like
it's
two
still
different bands.
John playing, but it is so much more power and force behind it. And same thing, hearing him and Tigers and the way he played with them and just ripping it up, to hear that Slide It In album, I was just like, this is
Yeah. But like what I was gonna say was that the whole story with Coverdale and Whitesnake was that before the release of Saints and Sinners, there was a dispute with their label and their management. Coverdale was broke, almost near bankruptcy, and he sacked the entire band and like paid them out their wages or whatever until he became sole proprietor and owned the band, which is why there was more of a consistency of inconsistency within the band until its initial breakup. There was never the same lineup on the albums after Ready and Willing. No, I'm sorry, Saints and Sinners. So for all intents and purposes, Whitesnake really was a band fronted by David Coverdale, where he was calling the shots. And the '87 album was a 2-year process, because from what I heard, Coverdale had blown his voice out, or he was trying to recoup it.
Yep.
Still didn't stop smoking cigarettes and drinking brandy and Cavassier. And
well, I mean, come on, he named the band after his cock. Like he clearly doesn't.
He did
much restraint.
Wait a minute, are you saying Whitesnake is full of sexual innuendo?
I know, you wouldn't believe it. It's even worse than a Kiss album.
Thought they were a Christian band, a la Striper. Anyways. Sorry, Greg. Sorry, don't choke on the Coke. Don't choke on the Coke.
That was good. That was really good.
Thank you. But anyway, yeah, all the hullabaloo between Coverdale and Sykes. Sykes got sacked, and the ship began to stunk. So, Sykes, we miss you, man. We miss you.
We do. I love the guy, and that's what I mean. Even if he was never on anything else besides those 2 Tiger albums, it would just be legendary. I mean, his playing is so amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah. I wish I knew more technical things to say about how he plays on them, but just go get them. Seriously.
Well, I do know one thing. Crying in the Rain left such an impact on me that when I first started playing guitar, one of my goals was to nail that guitar solo. To play the entire song from start to finish, including the solo as Sykes had written it and recorded it, which I did accomplish after many months of like fingers bleeding all over my guitar and just going, I can't do it. But I did it. And it's a bucket list item of mine one day to perform it live.
That's awesome.
Not with Severed Angel, Wayne. It could be with anybody. But
and funny thing there is, though, similar thing for me, but for me it was Still the Night.
Love that song anyway, so
Oh no, it was just what I heard first and the one that more connected with me. I was like, I gotta learn how to play that.
The funny thing is, like, when Coverdale Page was a thing and they did a 10-day tour of Japan, I don't know how, but somehow Coverdale managed to put Here I Go Again and Still in the Night in the set list. Now, I love Jimmy Page. I mean, the man wrote the Ring song, so he's a legend to me. He doesn't play like Sykes. He can't. He can't do it. He can't do it.
No.
I was gonna say, I can't imagine that sounding right at all.
Well,
actually, Greg, it's kind of cool, but it doesn't sound. It's really weird to hear Jimmy Page play Whitesnake riffs. Let's just leave that there for
He did the riffs justice. Just he didn't solo. It was.
He doesn't solo on his own songs the same way twice. So why would he bother learning? Why would he bother learning someone else's? He'd probably think that's sacrilege.
True.
Yeah.
Was
So
that
you guys
Greg?
want to talk about David
Go back
Lynch?
to Blue Murder,
Oh,
just real quick. So I've actually never heard the second album. Love the first one, but yes, it had that Zeppelin influence. But I think what was so important about that is, unlike Kingdom Come and other bands that were just trying to directly copy them, Sykes took it into his own plane and his band as an influence and really did something special with it. And it is such a shame that record didn't make it.
No, it should have been bigger. And that's probably my favorite
agree.
Carmine Appice performance.
Not only that, we forget
For
Tony
me-
Franklin played bass, who played with Jimmy Page and the Firm, so we forget about that.
For
This
me,
is true, yeah.
Carmine is about my third favorite. Cactus is my favorite thing he ever did, one way or another, in the first album.
I guess I'm just saying what I said about because of timeline, because just because I, you know, when King Cobra is your exposure to Carmine Appice, exactly.
Just give me a hollow point and a pistol right now.
You'll take the next best thing, and that was Blue Murder. So, you know, I mean, if you also include the fact that he was on the Bark at the Moon video.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you didn't play on it. Yeah, he's in the video. Wonderful.
Very interesting.
Huh?
Actually, a bunch of Thin Lizzy albums are being re-released on vinyl, a colored vinyl. Chinatown, Renegade, Thunder and Lightning, Black Rose, and the live album, Live and Dangerous, and the Live Life album.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
might have to. Yeah, it is cool. I'll probably have to buy another copy of my.
All different colors. They're $40 each, though, man. That's crazy.
On vinyl?
I'm not paying 40 bucks.
Dude, charges and distributor charges have gone way up on vinyl recently. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I'm just really happy I got that one Thin Lizzy album that was released on VH1 Classic Records, which is completely out of print at this point.
What, the Live at the Tower, the full Live and Dangerous performance?
Yeah, the full, all 10 songs.
Is it only 10? I thought there was more than that.
Huh? No, it's 10.
Well, there was a box set, Live and Dangerous, that I never got. That's now like $200. I waited because it was like 89 ago. I'll wait to get it. Then, for whatever reason, those Thin Lizzy box sets come and go. I mean, they release and then they go out of print immediately, and then of course you go on the secondary markets. They want a ridiculous amount of money. We're talking about CDs. We're not even talking about vinyl. We're just talking about CDs.
I still can't find an affordable early years from Def Leppard, Manny. I can't.
Oh, good luck with that. If you didn't get that within the first month, forget it.
Why?
I did it.
I got it on Steam. Yeah,
because they were limited, and I mean, people grabbed them up and they're just reselling them for these ridiculous prices now.
But I heard that they are releasing a 45th anniversary of On Through the Night, so who knows? Maybe some of those tracks will be on it. Maybe.
Well, I have the CD box set of early years, and then I've got the record store release of the live album that's in there on vinyl,
which sounds great.
Yeah. Again, Pete Willis, but see, we go on these tangents.
Yeah,
but anyway,
right.
Pete Willis is.
Well, it's related. Sykes almost was the guitarist in Def Leppard, so
yeah.
Apparently, him and Adrian Smith.
The guy was just a phenomenal guitar player. Let's just any band he would have gone into, he would have transferred for
exactly
formed, and he did with Whitesnake. I like Whitesnake. I'm a David Coverdale fan. You guys know I'm a Deep Purple fanatic.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, if John Sykes had never joined Whitesnake on Slide It In, because Slide It In was the first one to make it big in the United States, Whitesnake would have never enjoyed the success that they got without John Sykes.
Here.
Who almost is erased from history because he's not in the music videos. He barely got acknowledged when they were doing those tours. Actually, he didn't get acknowledged at all. Granted, John Sykes cried all the way to the bank cashing those royalty checks.
Did he?
It made him a millionaire, because that's one thing David Coverdale complained about was, that he got the.
That he had to share royalty with Sykes? Really?
Because they became millionaires, both of them. He said he worked. His quote is, and it's in Guitar World, I worked the shortest amount of time with Sykes than any guitar player, and he made the most money out of anyone I ever worked
Well, I point of contention. I did see some of this, and again, I like David Coverdale as a singer. Burn is my favorite Deep Purple album. I was watching. I was on social media, and he posted, "Rest in peace, John Sykes. We had a great time together." You fired him, you fuck.
Yeah, but when somebody dies, you're not gonna say.
What it is?
We had a great time together until I fired you.
I can't stand ingenuine, a lack of genuine. I don't like the lack of genuine nature behind it. It's like, if you didn't give a shit about him while he was alive, stop trying to save face while he's passed away. Just shut the fuck up and don't say anything about it. That's how I feel.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree. But
I just think David Lynch.
Yeah, on to David Lynch. For my opinion, I don't think those Whitesnake would have been as huge without those songs.
I agree with you.
That Sykes wrote. Anyway, or co-wrote, excuse me. All right, Greg, take it away. David Lynch.
David Lynch, I mean, what else can you think of, or whom else do you think of first when you think of surreal, eccentric, and odd type of stuff? You used the word arty the other day, and I suppose that kind of fits in the parlance of our times, but I don't think he ever really intended to be some kind of art house guy. He had a vision, and he brought it to life, and it was very bizarre, and it works though. And I think he's a great writer, even though he did a lot through symbolism and all that, because honestly, I would say Blue Velvet is the best American film of the 1980s.
And a lot of critics would agree with you.
I love it. It starts off, you get the image of the rose on the picket fence and all that, and then into the underground. It's just that perfect, that evil hiding behind suburbia. So many people had not done stuff like that. I mean, Dean Stockwell singing Roy Orbison, the fucking Dennis Hopper, and
mommy.
I don't believe it was violence for violence sake either. I hate when people say that. He made a powerful film, and that was how he got it across. And America loves sex and violence.
Not gonna disagree with that.
Yeah, he was just so unique in what he did. Although I will say, as much as I love Twin Peaks, for everyone that talks about it and all that, it's basically just Blue Velvet grown up and doing something different and on TV.
I never drew the comparisons.
Oh, come on, dude. Kyle MacLachlan.
Okay, well,
Dale Cooper is totally Jeffrey Beaumont as an adult.
I guess I could see that.
Yeah. But now, granted, with Twin Peaks, he brought a lot more into it. He started to get more ethereal and all that. As odd as Blue and shocking as Blue Velvet is, it's a little bit more grounded. But, those types, the way he wrote and directed and everything, it really really made you think. And it's one of the most, I don't want to use the word extreme, but one of the most
surreal,
engrossing directorial styles there has ever been. Like when you're watching a David Lynch movie, even Wild at Heart, which I don't particularly like, it just sucks you in and really makes you feel like you're in the story.
Well, David Lynch definitely was a unique director. He definitely had a vision. And you could look at one frame of a David Lynch film and no, that's David Lynch. No, I mean, he just was unique that way. But, it's ironic because I wasn't going to come on because I'm not a David Lynch fan, which surprised a lot of people. His influence is I definitely acknowledge his talent. I acknowledge his influence. I acknowledge his impact, not just in American cinema. His impact was Quentin Tarantino is a full-on American director, but Lynch influenced world cinema. There are directors from other countries that you wouldn't think of that definitely were influenced, especially a lot of the French directors, the Red, White, and Blue series. There are a lot of directors. So
a lot of German horror directors too, man.
Yeah, absolutely. A matter of fact, that remake of how do you say that German word for the vampire movie? Greg, you help me out.
Nosferatu?
Yeah, if you watch that, and I don't, it's you can see Lynch's influence in that if you watch it. I forgot who directed that, but it wouldn't surprise you. He directed The Lighthouse too, so I can't remember the director's name. But yeah, David Lynch is that. You know, it's funny. The one mainstream film he tried to make, Dune, in my opinion, was terrible. But my understanding is that the
studio
took it away from him, and didn't give him the final cut, which makes no sense because the movie lost money. If you're going to lose money, at least lose money with the original vision. I think the audience probably would have liked it better. I don't know.
He got Weinstein before Weinstein became a thing.
Fuck Weinstein.
They probably would have. I mean, the final cut of Dune is completely different from what he intended. It's all studio meddling, and yeah, it just made it a terrible movie.
Visually, though, it was stunning.
Oh, visually, it was stunning. That's one thing you couldn't take away from him. But another point, too, because you mentioned Tarantino. Tarantino is a very American director, and granted, he did do something different in the way he pulled an amalgam of a bunch of different things together and made it his own. However,
I agree.
Lynch was a true original. That was what was in his head. He didn't sit around the video store for 20 years watching a bunch of movies.
Greg, if you had told me that David Lynch, if I didn't know his name was Lynch, if you said David Lynch was a European director and you showed me his movie without telling me that he's American, that you covered up his name, I would have believed it. That is such European sensibilities and Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks. He Lost Highway, remember that one?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That was big my junior year.
Well, those movies. Can you name me one single American? Maybe Orson Welles, but you'd have to take a time machine. Can you think of a single American director, contemporary, who would make movies like that? And I'm talking about someone who's not even really a huge David Lynch fan. I can't think of a single one.
I can't think of any of them.
No, I don't think there's that many directors who pursued passion for art above commerce the way he did. And I really respect that about him. In fact, sometimes it makes me wonder, how in the hell was he able to make a living? Because, maybe he kept his budgets cheap and, he made some kind of profit from his films. But, you mentioned Lost Highway. The only reason, the biggest reason why I remember that film is because of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because it at the time, it had 9 Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, Smashing Pumpkins, and a little unknown German band at the time named Rammstein, who a year later would blow up because of Du Hast. Somehow Lynch had his finger on the pulse of what people would be talking about years from now before anybody would even think about it.
Like Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
That was probably the first real, fresh, exciting to happen to television in about 20 years.
Forever.
Yeah.
It definitely was ahead of its time, because if there was such thing as a Netflix or streaming channel, that would have survived. Back then, though, network television didn't know what to do with that whatsoever.
They didn't, so much so that they ruined the show by revealing who Laura Palmer was in the middle of season 2. The episodes after that were throwaways.
Well, he knew he wasn't going to get a chance to do a season 3.
The fact that he did get one 27 years later is nothing short of a miracle, which to me, and my father-in-law loved Twin Peaks. He hated The Return.
Really?
But I was like, he also still cries at John Wayne movies. There, I just revealed something about him. I was like, that's the kind of guy.
I would wipe my ass with a John Wayne movie. I hate John Wayne, but
I love John Wayne, but I digress. But I mean, like,
John Wayne was a fag. I installed two-way mirrors in his apartment in Brentwood. Come on,
where's that
Miller,
line from?
Repo Man.
Oh, Jesus Christ! You're quoting Repo Man.
Best movie in 1984. Anyway, continue.
But I thought the reveal was great and completely made up for the storyline after the reveal of Laura Palmer's murder.
Mm-hmm.
But just to think about what that show influenced. I mean, that show influenced a song on my favorite Anthrax album, Black Lodge. I'm not the biggest Marilyn Manson fan in the world, but I love this first album. And Wrapped in Plastic, everything about that was based on Twin Peaks. The show Psych even did a tribute to Twin Peaks on one of their episodes, and it was hilarious.
Even children's cartoons, Gravity Falls. The idea for that came out of them being fans of Twin Peaks.
And if Twin Peaks did revive anything, it was my love for a cup of coffee and a piece of cherry pie.
That's right.
Well, gentlemen, I'm out.
That's
and Wayne,
damn good coffee.
Wayne, I've never heard you be this silent, by the way.
Funny thing about Twin Peaks, Warren Frost and Grace Zabriskie, that is how they ended up becoming Susan Ross's parents on Seinfeld, because Larry David loved their interaction together and thought,
really?
What if I could make them hate each other instead of marry?
That's hilarious. All right, awesome. Gentlemen, my phone's about to die. Wayne, I've never seen you so silent.
You guys know more about these two people than I do, so I'll let you guys take over.
All right. Well, you two enjoy. Thank you, Wayne. And, you look better as a.
I do. I might keep this look.
Please don't.
Get a nose job. All right, take care. Not you, Manny. Wayne. Take care, Manny.
Stan says I look like a bouncer at a club that only plays acoustic folk music.
Yeah, I could see that.
I can kind of see it. I was thinking more of a roadie for Fish, but it's kind of the same thing.
But he's got the cool leather coat with the hoodie, so I think he belongs in like a hipster club in Brooklyn. So
rather than a jam band for old junkies, yeah.
Yes. I'm crushing your head, Wayne. I'm crushing your head.
I could do more animations, but it doesn't. It's weird.
Back to what I was saying, but yeah, I mean, the influence that show had is immense. The movie Fire Walk with Me, what a great prequel to the series, and really just crazy how like the way he put the pieces together in that film to make the show make a little bit more sense. I like it when he reveals things as they go along. Like, I mean, his storytelling was, I don't think it was matched really by that many people. First film I saw of his was The Elephant Man, and I loved it. And I did not know Mel Brooks produced it.
Yeah, isn't that pretty cool?
That is very cool. But seeing Anthony Hopkins as the doctor who befriended John Hurt's John Merrick, just a beautiful film. And who would have thought that film came out in 1980? The way that film was done, it was like a classic Hollywood picture. Like Lynch, and I wish I could say that I've seen Eraserhead, but I haven't.
Dude, Eraserhead is the perfect nuclear era movie. There is so much paranoia and bleakness. It's just awesome.
I do want to watch it.
But well, I mean, really, you could say he almost reinvented film noir. He kind of brought it back and then did his own thing with it, like with Blue Velvet. But what I really, like about his storytelling that a lot of people don't is you never get any needless exposition. You learn just as much as you need to make it work. And honestly, that's more realistic in spite of how surreal everything is.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people bitch that, you never really get any Frank Booth's backstory. Well, you never would if you were meeting him doing a joyride coming out of an apartment like that. He's not going to sit down and tell you his life story. It's not really important where he came from.
No, but Yeah, I'm not a fan of Hollywood today, and it has nothing to do with the messaging. It has nothing to do with the acting or the politics behind it, because Hollywood's always been like that. Take it or leave it. Um, but I detest the lack of originality that's been in cinema in the past, dare I say, 10-15 years.
I'd say longer than that, honestly.
Probably
about 18, and it starts with Michael Bay, cinema's greatest monster.
Okay, so it all starts with Bad Boys. Got it. 96. Um
well, I like The Rock.
Never watched it. No intention. Although I do love Sean Connery.
Watch that movie. You'll like it.
No, please, Motorama. Anyway,
it's a very good movie. It's fucked up.
You need storytellers like Lynch to keep cinema fresh and to keep it original and to keep it thriving. I'm sick and tired of these cookie cutter, film directors. I was a fan of MCU until Endgame. I did enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Deadpool versus Wolverine. That's it. What? Whatever.
I think the whole MCU is one of the worst things to ever happen to movies, to be quite honest with you.
Yep.
And the overuse of CGI and all that, if I wanted to watch a video game, I'd buy one and play it.
Yeah.
Fair enough, but I enjoyed them, but I also have my limitations. Stop feeding me tripe and calling it, filet mignon. Just don't do that. The only film I'm excited about, and they're finally releasing it this year, is the remake of Toxic Avenger, directed by Macon Blair, starring Peter Dinklage as Toxie. Yes, Tyrion is Toxie. It got the thumbs up.
Like the sound of that.
It got the thumbs up from Lloyd.
Yeah, well, we can talk about Lloyd's questionable decisions another day. But
agreed. But
I suppose I'll wait to see it, but I don't like that.
But the point is like I'm a fan of David Lynch as a filmmaker, as a writer, as a visionary. I think more people should be studying from him than Rian Johnson, director of The Last Jedi.
Oh, certainly. And honestly, dude, Lynch and Tarantino are two of my favorite directors all time, and I would say the same thing about him. I didn't mean to disparage Quentin in any way. I was just making more of a.
I didn't think you did.
Yeah, because I like what he does a lot. It's just Lynch, man. Like with Zappa, it's amazing what coffee and cigarettes will do to a mind.
Agreed. No, I love Tarantino. He's always done his own thing. I wish he treated Uma Thurman better on the set of Kill Bill, but what are you gonna do? Human beings are flawed creatures. I loved him and Kevin Smith, although Kevin Smith's films in the last decade or so, they've been questionable, but I'm not gonna take away from what he's done. But Tarantino hasn't disappointed me yet.
No, Tarantino hasn't disappointed me yet. The Hateful Eight actually ended up being one of my favorite movies of the
That's a great one.
I was, it's funny because sometimes, especially directors, when they get older, they get comfortable and they kind of lose it a little bit. Well, that's never happened with Quentin. It never happened with Lynch either. I know a lot of people didn't particularly get into Mulholland Drive because of how much almost extra weird that one was. But that's great.
It's a hard watch at first, but you kind of get used to it and you pick up on things. But that's the thing. Lynch got weirder as he got older, and I love that about him.
Yeah, actually, quite honestly, in spite of its extremities, Blue Velvet might be the closest thing to a normal linear film he's ever done.
Quite possibly. Even my wife was like, I like it, but it's weird. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's Lynch.
And if you guys have not seen it, definitely get the Blu-ray with the deleted scenes. a lot of that stuff in there with Jeffrey's girlfriend and all that deserved to be cut out of the script. It was just too much. But the extra joyride scene of them down by the Barbary Coast, yes, flaming nipples, but you get more Frank Booth and Jeffrey.
Wayne, you're just like staring endlessly into space now.
Oh no, I'm looking at something. I haven't uploaded or updated, I should say, the podcast version of this show in quite a while. So I was just checking to see if anybody's actually,
So he's multitasking. He's he's taking care of the show as you and I blab on and on and on, Greg, and he's updating.
Listen, the only thing I've watched by this guy, David Lynch, is Twin Peaks, and I watched the first season, and I never watched the second season because people kept saying like it's the first half is good, then it just dwindles off to something else. Mm-hmm. And even Stan here said he watched this long video on YouTube where this dude dissected Twin Peaks and explained what it was really about. It's bonkers.
But it is bonkers. I mean, I was watching not conspiracy videos, but like people try to analyze shows as the season's going along. Like I'm watching Dragon Ball Daima right now on Crunchyroll, and like the next day people will post, here's what I think is happening. I'm like, nobody cares. But I did care during Twin Peaks. Don't get me wrong, I love Dragon Ball Daima, but I don't need to hear some 2-bit opinion. But they were trying to explain everything going on Twin Peaks, and apparently they were going into more text. There was an actual book about Twin Peaks that was released around the time of the return, that apparently it's sort of like a what do they call a companion piece?
Yes,
series. And I'm just like,
there's a couple books, Twin Peaks, the full case file, and I forget what the other one's called.
The 2 Owl thing or something.
Yeah. I have them both somewhere.
Yeah, but like I knew Lynch was big on weirdness. I didn't realize he was big on nuance too. So
he's big on nuance, and a lot of it is images. And one of the primary things behind Blue Velvet, Isabella Rossellini's scene where she's naked on Jeffrey's front lawn as he comes home with Sandy that one night. That was directly inspired by a naked, beaten woman running down the street when he was a child in his neighborhood, and it really upset him and always stuck with him. And that brought about the idea of the seediness, the darkness hiding behind a suburban facade. And not even really suburban, just, society in general, I suppose, or small towns. Was really
Well, thank God, I'm just glad that all of us lived in a period where we were alive to experience these things. Like the music that we love, the movies that we love or hate. It's like, it's cool to say that we were alive around this time. So I'm glad we had a David Lynch.
Interesting. Yeah. The 80s and 90s were a very interesting time for all of this stuff.
Yeah, because the 80s, what do a lot of people remember about it? Well, a lot of wanton sex comedies that you'd watch late night on Skinamax, and like of the nerd chasing the cheerleader, and in the end somehow he gets her. And then all of a sudden comes David Lynch to say, fuck you, I'm gonna give you nightmares for the rest of your lives. So,
right.
Thanks, Dave.
It's Daddy, you shithead. Where's the fucking bourbon?
Mommy.
Dude, the best. We do right before they leave for the joyride. Let's fuck. I'll fuck anything that moves. And then they just all blink out of frame. And then also how well he worked with his actors, because I got the special edition of Blue Velvet. I've probably seen the movie 100 times. It's one of my favorites ever. you know, a lot of the nuances and all that, they're not in the script. Hopper came up with the idea of it being amyl nitrate in the bottle because, well, David Lynch didn't know helium didn't get you high. He just knew it changed the voice. So it wouldn't have really worked and it would have made the movie ridiculous. But, you know, Dean Stockwell's the whole one that came up with the idea of, well, okay, he's a pimp and he dresses like a dandy, but obviously Frank respects him. Let me act him like he's on heroin, but could strike at any moment. You know, and he helped to encourage these ideas, like and talking to McLaughlin too. I mean, well, one thing was DEG was not having him put out a 3-hour film. They were like, no, you get final cut privilege and all this, but it can't be longer than 2 hours. But
that was a Dino De Laurentiis production.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow, okay.
Yep. Yeah, the whole thing shot in Wilmington, North Carolina. But you know, one of Kyle's first suggestions was cutting out the whole backstory with the girlfriend and Jeffrey witnessing the date rape because he felt it made him less sympathetic, and it did. It means a lot more to watch him come in innocent and get more voyeuristic as it goes along. So I respect him a lot for that because a lot of directors don't really listen to their actors all the time like that.
One thing I'll give David Lynch, thank you for making me realize what a gorgeous woman Monica Bellucci is.
Yeah. Oh, and
because I never watched the Matrix films after the first one.
Yeah. No, I didn't either. That shit was horrible.
Agreed.
Yeah. Can't believe it's still popular. But Black Lodge, awesome. But my favorite Anthrax song off of State of Euphoria, Blue Velvet, Now It's Dark.
What's up, Wayne? What do you want to say?
I think I was taking a drink.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something about Now It's Dark.
No.
Oh, rest in peace, David Lynch, and rest in peace, John Sykes. And, you know, we were on a break after we did our Megadeth discography series. And during that time, a very prevalent musician in one of the most dominating metal bands of the last 45, 50 years, Iron Maiden, Nicko Mcbrain announced his official retirement. And you know, they were able to get a replacement immediately in Steve Harris's British Lions band, drummer Simon Dawson. I'm looking forward to hearing him play with Maiden. I've heard the stuff he did with British Lion, and I rather enjoyed it. You know, let's see what he does with Maiden. Hopefully it sounds good. I would like to see Run for Your Lives tour. Should have come to the States. You know, and I feel horrible that Nicko is retiring because of the stroke that he had, where he really only got 80% of use of his right arm back, which is his hi-hat hand. Unfortunately, I don't want to speak ill of the man, but it showed, and and I know that I've said in the past that Clive Burr was my preferred drummer. It never meant I hated Nicko. You know, I like Nicko as a drummer.
Nicko will even tell you himself he thinks Clive Burr was the best drummer Maiden ever had.
Right. I mean, my problem with Nicko, you know, especially stemming from the stuff that they did live in the 90s, was, you know, he kept speeding everything up. You know, but whatever, drummers, that's what they do, right, Wayne?
Yeah,
of course they do. You know, but you know, to hear that the man has to put an end to his livelihood because of his condition is really sad, and you don't wish that on anybody.
Well, he's just retiring from tours. He's not retiring from playing.
Exactly.
He's retiring from touring with Maiden.
Right.
Right. Yeah. But he's staying with Maiden, and they plan on using him on any future studio recordings. Well, it's what Nick wants to do. You know,
right.
It's
kind Let's see what happens when that time. Yeah, when that time comes, they're going to work on a new album. Might change story there.
Does he still plan on doing Titanium Tart?
I don't know.
No idea.
When we initially talked about this, and before all the crap with work, and I missed the end of the Megadeth episodes, I I had more of this written down, but this kind of was off the cuff tonight. We were throwing in with Lynch and Sykes, so I really didn't prepare anything for Nicko or remind myself anything. But I will say, I did go to the Future Past tour, and all of you little keyboard internet fucking, ooh, my porridge is too hot pansies out there. No, he didn't play the fills exactly like he does on the album. But you know what? The fact is, we got Alexander the Great and Caught Somewhere in Time live in concert. The man went out there, even dealing what he has to deal with, and played his ass off, and it still sounded great. And I will respect the hell out of him for doing that.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah, it just irritates me so much on, like, especially on Facebook. But you'll see these guys that, oh yeah, I'm a hardcore Maiden fan, but he didn't do that fill exactly like it sounds on the record.
Oh, and don't even get me started.
The guy had a stroke, went through 8 weeks of intensive therapy, and still made the tour on the start date. Like, he cares about you guys. He doesn't need the money.
Right. That's the way he wants to play, you know?
Yeah.
And he just can't. And I don't even get me started with these idiots on the Facebook and social media. You're all idiots. Every single one of you.
You really are.
They really are. Especially
except for the people that subscribe to the show. I mean, you're all cool. You're all
we like you.
Yes. Please subscribe.
A double deuce.
Anybody complaining about stuff like that, you're just a piece of garbage, you know, to be honest.
Well, there's a difference between complaining about Nicko, you know, not playing up to standard because of his condition, and Paul Stanley not knowing when to quit because he can't sing anymore. There's a big difference between the two. You know, I can stand Nicko missing a drum fill. I can't stand Paul going, people, like that, you know, it's like, give me Carrot Top instead. The point is, you know.
And you know, hell, he was still playing a fill. It just isn't exactly the same as it is on the record. Right. It's not Ace Frehley falling off the fucking wagon and forgetting how to play Deuce 3 nights ago.
Oh, dear Lord.
And I guarantee the guy from British Lion's not going to play the songs like Nicko played them. So
no, of course he won't.
No drummer is never going to play the songs the same. You know, it's always going to be different.
Nicko didn't play Clive's parts the way Clive did. We accepted it.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. I will be honest. When I was first listening to the stuff from when he first joined the band, the live tours, it was a little tough for me at first, just because I loved the Burr era so much.
Yeah, you're used to hearing it that way. But, you know, over the years, he's been in the band for so long, like, it doesn't matter at this point.
Oh, well, he had it down by the World Peace Tour, honestly. And I mean, I still have some live stuff from, like, Beast Over Hammersmith and all that, where, like, honestly, the most irritating thing about all that is Bruce trying to sing Remember Tomorrow.
Yeah, we don't have to talk
took
about
him
that.
a couple of years to get down, but
yeah, he got it by 93 when he was on his way out.
but Nick did great.
I mean, who else could have come up with that drum pattern for Where Eagles Dare? You know,
right?
So one of the best drum patterns of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun song to play along with. So, you know, Nicko's given Maiden bands 42 years of his life. I think we owe him a break. So, you know, it's it's just weird because he's such a part of that band at this point. You know, it's like, you know, 4+ decades.
It's almost out of order, ain't it?
No, I'm not out of order. He was out of order. He fucked me.
He made me fuck. There's this guy standing a yard or two behind my drum riser.
What?
What? And I'm trying to do the Poxy solo, and he made me fuck. It doesn't matter if he was on a mission from you.
What if a lighting truss was about to fall? What if a lighting truss was about to fall down and hit you on the head? What are we gonna do then?
Well, then I guess you better pull me out of the way. I'm fucking dead, right?
Right. Some cunt's recording this. That's our abbreviated version of Message from Harry.
Yeah.
Mission from Harry.
Mission from Harry.
Sorry.
I couldn't remember any of that. Jeez.
Well, Greg and I actually found the actual text, and Greg and I wanted to do our own reenactment of it. Well, with you playing the Bruce role, Wayne. But
should.
I don't remember what the Bruce role was. I listened to that maybe once or twice.
He was the antagonist part, so you would have been perfect for the role.
Oh, damn. You should have filled me in.
I'll send it to you right now. We'll do it.
No, I'm not doing it now.
Yeah, fine.
No, not like this.
Hey, you picked it, dude. We didn't put a gun to your head saying, "Oh, let's see Wayne's hipster avatar."
Yeah, you can turn it off anytime. Motherfucker. Sorry.
What happened?
Well, because of the dog and all the noise out there, I moved into my room and I have to sit on the floor here, unfortunately, but I'm up against the baseboard heater. Well, it just kicked on and my foot was on the pipe, and that yeah, it's pretty red. I'm gonna feel that burn tomorrow.
Oh, fuck your old boots.
Fuck my old boots.
I got that line alone. You know, sometimes
I say it all the time throughout the day.
I have that track ripped to my iPhone just so I could hear that on rides to the supermarket and back, just because it gives me a good laugh every time. You know, and in case no one knows the story, apparently during the Peace of Mind tour in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Steve's wireless system went out. Steve told one of the techs, go to Nicko, tell him to his
tech. It was one of the lighting guys.
One of the lighting guys, right?
Yeah.
You know, to tell Nicko to extend the solo. The guy is telling Nicko from 6 feet away, and that was what the because that's what it sounded like to Nicko. And you know, he had no idea what that was going.
Yeah,
behind it, and he's like, and he fucked up his solo. Apparently, he yelled at the guy, said, "Don't ever do that again to me." Backstage, Steve Harris and Nicko are having a conversation to mull things over. All of a sudden, in comes Bruce with a tape recorder.
What happened was they were in a full-on argument, and Bruce could hear them in the other room. And then it started winding down, and he was like, I want to record this. So he went in there with the tape recorder hidden under the towel and wound the whole thing back up.
Yeah, to the point where they were yelling at each other. Steve Harris notices that there's a tape recorder recording the conversation, and the last thing you hear on the line is some guns recording this. And apparently they figured it was Bruce, instigating them. Bruce takes the tape recorder, runs out the room. Nicko's chasing him down to beat the crap out of him. And apparently Nicko explained this in Florida. Bruce said, "Stop it. I have a track on the other side of this cassette. It's called Power Slave. I'm working on it for the next album."
Oh, well, Nick caught him.
He was pissed.
He had the cassette out of there. He was getting ready to throw it on the floor and smash it under his boot.
Yeah, but he didn't. Yeah. He let the tape go.
Yeah.
A year later, they're recording Power Slave after the Peace of Mind tour came out, and they said, "You still have that tape?" And they listened back to it, and everyone in the band was having such a laugh over it that, they were like, "Oh, we should release this as a B-side." And Nicko's like, "You reckon?" And they did, and it's the B-side of 2 Minutes to Midnight, and it's the greatest 6-minute conversation ever recorded to tape. Hearing British men yelling at each other.
I gave him a proper bollocking. He deserved it.
I'm not saying he fucking meant to, Harry. All I'm saying he was out of order.
The fact is he did.
And to this day, Nicko will still say he's in the right.
And then Bruce, well, someone wants to get a message to you, they just got to give it to me.
He's like, "Bruce, you're the front man."
Well, Steve getting all pissed. "You weren't involved, Bill. The guy's a lighting tech. He didn't know to come tell you." I just love how Bruce gets some little side comments in there, amp it up even more.
Apparently, it was the first time Mcbrain ever got writing credits on a Maiden track. But
that's right, it was.
Yeah. But we love you, Nicko. Yeah, enjoy your retirement from touring. You deserved it, and you earned it.
You definitely have, and hopefully one day I can meet you. because I've never gotten to one. I would love to.
I hear his rib joint is amazing. I would love to go there one day.
Yes, rock and roll ribs. We should all go. We should all take a trip to Florida.
That would be cool.
As a matter of fact, let's go right now.
Sorry, I'm not Goku. I don't do instant transmission.
Right now. Well, wait a minute, Lou. We got to power up first. Ah!
Super Saiyan.
All right.
What are you doing? Thwarting my plans.
Are you?
Like you're thwarting my plans.
Thwarting your plans? Are you? No. I'm gonna fucking kill you. I don't think Wayne's familiar with Dragon Ball Z abridged, so.
Nope.
Hey, Jeets, don't call me that.
No.
Hyperbolic time chamber. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I want
all right,
to
that's it.
with every fiber of my being when I say this, but I need your hat. Yeah. You need our help? That's it.
I swear, whoever did Vegeta on Team 4-Star deserves an award. Anyway, Wayne, I'm sorry. Take your show back.
Yeah, let's get out of here. I don't know. We'll be back next week, I guess. Right?
Yep. We'll be live from
so.
Space Sauce, mates. Just be careful. Space Dingo might eat your space baby.
Yeah, we should be back. But the schedule's gonna be kind of weird because I got some stuff going on. That's right. Fuck them all.
Oh yeah,
but I got some
recording. I actually got to talk to you. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yep. But yeah, I got some stuff going on, so I actually have to get surgery done. So maybe I'll talk about that around the time before it happens or whatever. I'll know more. But the show will be maybe these guys will do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. So it'll be like I'm never gone.
On a good note, yeah, Greg and I are gonna carry the Reds. The Reds. I was about to say the Red Ribbon Army, Greg.
Jerome, you madman.
Greg and I are gonna carry the Outside Review banner until Wayne recuperates because he's our buddy. If it wasn't for him, there'd be no show, and we're happy to do it for him until he feels better. On a good note, though, Wayne and I are actually hitting the studio on Saturday. Because we're going to be recording 3 brand new music videos for the next Severed Angel album. The album's called When Eternity Ends, and it will be released March 28th, 2025 on No Life Tomorrow Records. So you could go there and buy your CDs, but you could stream it on all streaming platforms, and you could buy the MP3s from us on our Bandcamp. And the website will be updated to reflect all that.
That's cool. It'll be cool. Fun. It's going to be a good 2025.
Yep. I'll be back for full time for the first time in a couple of years. So this will be cool.
Well, we'll see about that.
Well, yeah.
That's not
the first in a long time.
Yeah. But I hope so. I hope so. Because I like when everybody's on this show. But yeah. So until then, we will see you guys next week.
That's right. Rock on, buy yourself some Tigers Pantang records. Rest in peace, John Sykes and David Lynch, 2 amazing true originals. And Nicko, we love you.
Bye.
Cheers.